Op Talks. Hear that? That's that pumpkin spice. Come and get you some. That's that autumn for the soul. Frickin'. The inside of me feels like a nice meadow. I'm frolicking with some deer. Speaking of deer, just went up to Idaho. It was a great trip. My first flight was at like 4:30 in the morning, and I don't think many people can understand how gay it feels to get a ride at like, I think it was like 3:30. Some dude hits me up at 3:30. I'm gonna be like, hey man, sorry, I don't swing that way. Hey, what are you doing on Tuesday at 3:30 in the morning? I'm good, bro. You know? Any times after 4 p.m., it's like, you know, you're chill. You're a good guy. Sure, I'll take you. I'm getting close off work. Maybe I'll get off work early. But 4:30 in the morning, you gotta be fucking crazy. I don't even know why I was going up to visit my dad. He booked the flight. I don't know why he booked it then. Because I think he was putting me through trials. Or Satan was coming after me. You know? Something was going on. But praise the Lord, I made it through. I got up to Idaho. But 4:30, so I'm hitting up all my friends. I'm like, hey, can you take me to flight? And they're already iffy. You know? They're like, all right, what's the catch? You know? Like, what time? I was like, oh, 4:30. And they're like, yeah, I can do that. And I was like, in the morning. And they're like, ooh, no. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir, that way. And so, none of my friends said yes, luckily. You know, it's a good test. It's a good test. You can hit up your friends and be like, hey, can you take me to the airport at 4:30 in the morning? Please. And if they say yes, they're definitely gay. 100%. So all my friends are straight. Definitely. We went through that. These were some trying times in my life, and I just need some sympathy, so leave some comments down below. But shocker, my brother-in-law took me. And he's not married to my brother, he's married to my sister. So, I don't know what that means, but the jury's still out. You know, the guy, he's definitely not gay, you know? But, now I'm suspicious. I'm on high alert, you know? I'm on edge. He can't show up to any of the family functions with like clip nails. If he shakes my hand and I see that his nails are like pristine, like filed, if you file your nails, I'm on to you. I'm on to you. You already said yes to taking me to the airport. I'm on to you. You can't own an umbrella. Can't hit leg day. Can't cross your legs. You can't do dishes or laundry. It's done. It's done. We had a good thing going. We're done. And honestly, I was surprised he said he could. But it was a very straight way of saying he could. He was like, you know, if nobody else can, I will. So I was like, whoa, you sure you can? And he's like, yeah. I got you, bro. I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay. I was like, can I pay you some money? And he's like, no, you're all good, bro. Like, we're brothers. I'm like, bro, you're a dog. He's the best. He's the best brother. He's the best, is it a step? No, brother-in-law. He's the best brother-in-law I could ask for. You know, I would do anything for him. He's a great guy. And I appreciate you, Christopher. Shout out to Christopher. And so I get there. The whole time we're giggling, the whole ride. You know, it's 4:30 in the morning, making jokes. I get in his car and I'm like, all right, I gotta at least make him laugh. You know, if I'm not paying him or anything, that's gotta be payment enough. If somebody gets in my car and they're not like interesting or, you know, trying to have a fun time. If somebody gets into my car mad, it just makes the whole drive just way less worth it. You know. So I was trying to be a good guest. Anyway, I get there. I'm going through TSA and stuff, and they've separated the two lines You got TSA and TSA pre-check. And so one of them's longer, so I hop in the longer line. But that was TSA pre. The shorter line was the regular, unprepared, no boarding pass printed out people. Every single person in the... I should have known, because everybody in the TSA pre-check had their passes printed out. They had their hair combed all nice, and then I hop into the regular line, and I'm sitting next to these two... I would say, they're built like O-line. Actually, maybe 100 pounds over O-line. Huge, just big people. And I understand, sometimes you put on some weight. And, life's got you down or whatever. Or maybe that's just where you feel most comfortable at. I'm cool with that, But I overhear them, and they're sitting there, and they're talking, and they're like, honey, we got to go and get a wheelchair next time so we could skip the line. We got to go and get a wheelchair so somebody could push us around. And it's like, it made me feel so disgusted because I was like, these people clearly could walk, clearly are able to show up for themselves, and they chose not to. And to be that mindset of being like, oh, I want somebody else to push me around and, carry me around. I'm sorry, you can be overweight, but I'm not going to push you around and, make sure everything's okay. Because, quite frankly, that isn't healthy. It's not healthy to be overweight. Now, whether it makes you happy or whether, that's all debatable, but it isn't healthy. And so then using it as an excuse to stay unhealthy, I don't know, it just felt like they were taking advantage of the people who are working there and the kindness that they offered, So I was just sitting there, and I was just kind of like, all right. And they were going to, I had a layover in Utah. They were going to Utah, so they were on the plane. And it's like, it's one thing, to be a little bit overweight and, to take up more than one seat. And that's fine. I have sympathy. I've sat next to a few of those people. It's an embarrassing thing. It sucks to hop on a plane if you are all self-conscious and stuff. But to, have somebody push you around, to do all this stuff is all this extra, I'm so special. It's like, I work so hard to not be special. So it's like, let's all, it'd be sick if we had some sort of treadmill or something that made them walk more to the gate. I'm just kidding. But I don't know. It just felt weird. And so we get through the line, and TSA is a total scam. TSA pre-check is a total scam. Then I wait at the airport. I don't know if any of you guys do this, but I always ask people, I'll be like, hey, can you watch my bags, while I go to the bathroom? Some people just leave their bags. Some people take them in the bathroom. But I think the day that fails me, I give up on humanity. I quit the podcast, But until that day happens, every single time I'm met with a warm smile, somebody being like, hey, here's your bag right here, bud. Here's your bag. So I get back, and my bag's right there. People are good, and I'm thankful for them. And so I go up to the gate. One sec, I think I gotta sneeze. All right, I passed. So I go up to the gate. Oh, jeez, is it coming back? So I walk up to the gate, and the lady says to me, hey, sorry, we're gonna switch your seats. We got a new plane. It's a little bit more crowded. And so I go up, and I walk through the plane, and I am seated next to I was just sandwiched in between those two fat people. Once again, I don't have a fat phobia. I'm cool with it. I have friends that are fat. Shout out Mark. So I walked back, and I was like, hey, listen, I paid for Comfort Plus. I need Comfort Plus. And she's like, oh, we switched seats, and I can't do anything about your refund. And so I sat there for 15 minutes, and they're starting to take, get ready to take off is what it was looking like. And so I'm back talking to this lady, and I was like, can you just put me closer to the front? So she gave me a seat by myself. And so I was like, all right. And I walk back, and the cherry on top of it all is it was a woman pilot. And I would never be so sexist to be like, oh, Women can't fly planes because that's just messed up. That's terrible. She flew the plane great. You know, the whole time, smooth sailing. But it was when the tires touched the tarmac, things got a little scary, you know? When the wheels were on the floor, you know, there was a little bit of drifting action. You know, she hit a curb or two. But luckily, praise the Lord, you know, we're safe. Praise the Lord. On my second flight, it was all men driving, so thank God. On my second flight, they switched my seat around again. And I'm put next to this, you know, she looked like a Mormon professional, like, granola eater, you know. She was, like, definitely a coach at Hangar 18. And she would just be talking for so long. She was talking throughout, like, the presentation where the guy's taking the mask and he's like, you know, he's showing you how to put the seatbelt on, showing you how to put the life vest on. And the whole time she's like, oh my God, yeah, I can't wait to make it down into Salt Lake. And I was like, oh my God. Or make it into Idaho. And I was like, bro. And so the lady comes up and is like, hey, can you please shut off your phone? And she's like, they're forcing me off of the phone. And I was like, okay. And the whole time she's sitting there just, I think she downloaded TikToks or didn't know how to turn off her airplane mode. So the whole time she was on. And it's like, first off, I don't know if any of you guys work in the plane industry, but does airplane mode actually work? Is airplane mode like a real thing? Or is it just some placebo thing that they make us do to like, why are they doing airplane mode? Because I know, out of a plane of 100 people, one of them has to have it on. There's no way. And so we land and we get to it. First night was good. We spent it at the house. And then we had like this bitchin' wall tent. Like, you know, those canvas white wall tents that they, back in the day, used to use. Like, cowboys would pack them in and pack them out. But the first few days, I wasn't really feeling myself, you know? We were at this beautiful camp, and there's this little stream flowing through it. And I love fishing. I love fishing more than anything. And I didn't really have any interest in fishing. And normally, like, you can't get me away from fishing. But I was just kind of, I don't know, I had a short fuse, and I was just kind of really focused. I was like, no, I'm going to get a deer. I'm going to get a deer. This whole trip, I'm going to get a deer. And I was so, like intense, you know? I wasn't feeling myself, and we spent, like, 3 nights out in the wilderness, camping in that tent, and there was a huge thunderstorm. There was, we saw, like, a bunch of, like, weather and stuff, but it was all just, I don't know, I didn't really feel like myself, I guess. I didn't feel myself, and I was with my dad, and I was trying my best, but I could tell that he put a lot of work into it, and I was adding a lot of stress into it that I didn't really think was needed, like, in hindsight. And part of it was, you know, when I landed, I wanted to see my dog, because my parents took the dog up to Idaho, and I wasn't able to see my dog on the first day, because I guess she has some, like, pancreatitis, and you know, that sucks, because my dog is getting old, you know, my parents are getting old, everyone's getting old. I feel like I'm getting old, so that just kind of sat in the back of my mind. And then eventually we packed up camp, came back to the house, and was able to watch some TV, and I watched Blow. If you guys have watched it, with Johnny Depp, it's such a good movie. But I get to the end of it. It's not really a spoiler. It's been out for like 20 years. And when he's in prison and his daughter comes to see him after like a long time and stuff, I don't know. It made me so touched. And, you know, I'll admit it. I cried. And I'm not proud of it. Actually, you know what? I am proud of it. I cried a little. And no, a lot. I don't know. So there was something just sitting in the back of my, like, soul. And it's just been such a hard year, hard half of a year. You know, I lost two grandpas. Um, Specifically, like one of my grandpas, like we just had his funeral, and I didn't shed a single tear. You know, and like I didn't cry that whole time, and it took Blow with Johnny Depp to really get to me. I don't know, I felt like I had a lot bottled up from the funeral and just everything that's been going on. So I was sitting there, and then I like walked over to my dog, and I'm looking at her, and she's like my giving tree. You know, you guys have ever read that book? Such a good book. But I was just like so sad because it's like this dog that's been with me since I was so young. You know, is getting old. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. You know, she's like 11. She's a like lab. She's the dumbest dog ever. You know, she'll I've seen her poop and then go and turn around and eat the poop that she just pooped. Like, she is dumb as rocks. But she's so loving. So I don't know. It's like it's crazy that these like things have this effect on you, I guess. So I was just dealing with a lot of just weird emotions surging up, and after that I felt great. Felt great. Wherever you guys are, get some pumpkin spice and, you know, cry a little. It's good. It's good stuff. And so, I don't know. I was just, I was at that moment, I was able to be, like, vulnerable. And, like, I was sitting there and I was like, should I go, like, talk to my dad? Because I was just a mess, you know? And so I gave him a big hug and we were just sitting there. And it's nice to be able to be vulnerable in front of somebody and be like, you know, I'm weak. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the best. Oh, there's a bee right there. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the best. And sometimes I hurt just as much as like everybody else, you know? I just want to say I feel like I've played it so risky this year and it's paid off, but it's also, I feel like I've lost a lot too. And there's definitely equality to it, you know? I went to Japan, and I think I'm the first one in my bloodline to do that. I'm definitely first to go over to Asia and try to like be in a country that you know nothing about. Obviously things are easier now than they were for like my grandparents, but I've taken a lot of risks with everything I'm pursuing, how honest I am on the internet. Like, there's been times I've been like, you know, I can't take that job because they'll know about my podcast or how I feel about that. Or, you know, I left a stable job, secure job, because I wanted to be more open about my podcast and talk about it and advertise it more openly. You know, I was working at Trader Joe's and I love the people there and like how everything works. But I feel like in that environment, I can't be open about a lot because it is a big company at the end of the day, and it's a big company that cares about its people and like how well things go. No shots at Trader Joe's, they're the best. And I feel like every single day is a gamble. Each day is a gamble. You could roll a 6 or you could roll snake eyes, you could roll a 3, and it's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna wait anymore to like take the gamble. I feel like each day is such a blessing, you know, and I'm learning that. It's like, why not go be vulnerable to my dad? Why not, you know, laugh? Why not scream? Why not cry? Why not, you know, experience all these things? Why not feel so deeply about everything, you know, that you go and sit in front of a camera and talk to yourself like a crazy person. Yeah, I don't know. I played it risky this year, and it's paid off, and I've lost a lot and gained a lot. I'm excited for the rest of it. Anyway, I remember we went to this nice diner, and I think my philanthropy is when I pee in a toilet and I clean like the poop off of the inside of the toilet. You know, I feel like I'm saving somebody. Some of you guys donate to charity. Some of you guys do all this stuff. I just I'm saving somebody a little bit of time doing something gross, you know? I'm fixing the world. I put the P in philanthropy. And in that same diner, I saw this, he was a good looking dude. He was probably a farm boy out in the middle of Idaho. Sit down with what looked like his grandpa and his grandpa's two friends. And we've all been there, going out with your grandpa and his friends. And, this grandpa, he walked in and he got this, he just had this cowboy aura. And he looked like Sam Elliott, the dude that, I think he does the Ford F-150. He's like, I do Ford F-150. And this waitress walks up. She's decently pretty. And he's like, this is my grandson, Tucker. And the kid looked like an absolute ghost when he said that. Like, he was just shitting bricks. He wasn't even shitting bricks. He was shitting out like a whole fireplace, And I feel like everybody has their grandpa do that. Luckily, that kid, his grandpa definitely could understand age gaps. Like, they were somewhere around the same age. My grandpa, I remember one time we were at this diner and he tried to put me onto this fully kitted out woman and everything. Got the exhaust, got the wide body kit. She had some assets, and he was telling this lady how I could treat her right and stuff, and I was like, Grandpa, I'm 14, I'm not ready for some arranged marriage. I'm not ready to take care of a woman. I can't even make a PB&J. I was still figuring out how to tie my shoes. So my grandpa would do that. Or when I got a little bit older, he would say that stuff's way younger girls, and I'm like, Grandpa, dude, you can't be saying that. But on to the reason why I went up there. We went up there to go hunt, but on to the reason why we went up there. The reason why we went up there was to go hunting, and we did all these small little hikes, just a mile here, a mile there each day, and we wore ourselves out with doing these small things. And for those of you who haven't hunted or don't know about hunting, deer are hard to get. And we were trying to do the easy, cheap way, where it's you go into the small little foothills rather than hiking up a huge mountain. And so we were doing the easier way, the way that the path of least resistance. And so this is a lesson for me. If I applied the same amount of time that I spend chasing mediocre things to chasing one big thing, it would be just as much. And I would feel a lot more fulfilled. I would rather do the gnarliest hike, the craziest, location, doing the craziest thing and spending the most amount of money than doing a bunch of stuff that is just okay. And at the end of it, I realize I can fail at the mediocre things. The mediocre things that are easier aren't guaranteed. So I left Idaho without a deer because I chose the easier route. I chose, driving and, looking around and stuff. And I chose the okay unit, and I chose to not really apply myself. And so if I were to apply myself, this whole trip would have been a lot more worth it. One thing that did make it worth it was we were back at the camp, and my dad's buddy Drew casts into the stream, and I'm walking down, and he's got a cigarette in his mouth and beer in the other hand. And he's got the spinning rod, and he's reeling it with the beer, and he's looking back at me, and I'm looking over him, and I see this massive trout come and snag this lure, and so he's borrowing my rod, and I know that the line is super weak, and he sets the hook, and he's reeling it, and I was like, keep the tip up. So I know it's going to snap. And so he gets it close, and it snaps, and I'm filming the whole thing, and I jump in after it, grab the fish while it's swimming with the phone in my hand, and I go and put it up on the bank. I'm like, dude, Drew, I'm done. All of my hunting gear was ruined, but I've heard too many stories about people almost catching a fish, almost catching a big fish, so big I got it. You don't hear, oh, I sacrificed myself so that way, and the story was sick. And so we show my dad the fish. It was sick. And Idaho was great. It was beautiful scenery, and I'm so thankful for the time I spent there. I get to the airport, and I lay down. I'm sitting there. I'm editing a post or whatever. And I'm pulling the maneuver where you're laying on the carpet with your back towards the wall charging your phone. Everybody's seen it. And this guy pulls up and does it right next to me. But he's going to sleep. And I'm sitting there. I'm on my phone and stuff. And I hear... And it startled me a little bit. And he's in my peripheral vision, and I think it startled him too. and I'm sitting there, and this guy just fully leaf blowered me, And I looked down at the carpet, and it was bare, It was smoldering. It looked like Jason Statham's head, where the guy, and he rolls over, and he looks at me, and I don't know if he was playing it off like it was me, or if he genuinely thought it was me, but he gets up and starts to grab his stuff and moves 10 feet down and goes and lays down over there. And I'm sitting there, on my computer, and I'm looking over at this, and I was like, bro, what? You can't just do this, dude. This has to be breaking some sort of law or something. You just totally carpet bombed me, my guy. You just fully what? And I was just, that was my Idaho send off. It was a good little Idaho goodbye, little crop dust and dip. So we get out of there, and that's that. It was a good trip. Thank you, Idaho, and thank you for watching. This has been Op Talks.